How do I say goodbye?
So I didn't get a chance to actually redo the intro, although the signs were there that I probably should have redid the intro, weeks ago. The signs were there. I probably should have just redid it then, but it didn't. I was stubborn. I decided to wait. I wanted to see if it was going to react, and now I got to do it again. This is literally going to be the fourth time that I've had to redo the intro to Bleav in Panthers in the past 20 months.
Yeah.
We went through it yesterday, Panther Nation. We went through it. No Frankie Louvu, no Brian Burns, no Bradley Bozeman, no Von Bell.
It hurts, man.
No Youre. Rose Matt Peak on too.
Whoa, not be.
Who's left? Like, who is left? I'm trying to.
Us.
Us. We're the only ones here. We're the only ones left. We're the Will Smith meme brought to life of him in the living room, just looking around at nothing. What are we doing? I will have a new intro by next week, and you guys will be happy to know that the new player in it will be none other than Mr. Jonathan Stewart, Panthers all-time leading rusher. I figured they cannot trade him anymore, so
he will not be. Yeah, we are not trading Stu.
We are not trading Stu, so we should be good to
I'm
go.
I am protected from being released.
So,
He's got a lifetime contract.
Right, exactly. So
welcome in to a special episode of Bleav in Carolina Panthers here on the Bleav Podcast Network, brought to you by Bleav. I'm your host, Desmond Johnson, joined by Sports Illustrated beat writer Schuyler, Callihan, and the Panthers all-time leading rusher, Jonathan Stewart. We got a lot to get to, guys, like a lot. We're going to start off on the Panther end, and I'm glad Schuyler got a chance to get in here because we want to make sure we understand the why. Oh, even my phone wants to know. Like, it's time. It's time for
Is that an alert? Did they sign somebody?
I hope not, because I'm like, there's nobody left. Like, what are we supposed to be? Now you alert that they let some more people go. Let's just get to the heart of everything from yesterday. Actually, before we do that, while I'm looking for my reads and everything else, because I'm still kind of like in shock as to what happened with the carnage yesterday with the roster. Walk me through where you were, Schuyler, because I've known you long enough now where when breaking news usually happens, you're usually near Olive Garden or or like a Dunkin' Donuts or something. Like
you usually at Carolina Place Mall.
You're usually doing something away from the computer when it happens, or you're in the car. So where were you when you found out that Brian Burns was getting traded to the Giants yesterday afternoon?
Yeah, usually whether it's Panthers or Hornets, I'm in the car heading to a restaurant. That's been the theme, but I guess this is a new era, so maybe things have changed. But no, I was actually just getting on the phone with Kyle Bailey at WFNZ. I was doing a radio spot for them yesterday, and before they brought me in, their guy that patches me through, he gave me a heads up. He's like, "Hey, I don't know if you just noticed this, but there's a report that's coming out of New York that there's potential possibility of a trade going here." And I had just got back from the gym, so I had not been on Twitter. I had not seen anything yet. I keep my notifications on and everything like that, but I didn't see that report come through. So thankfully, he gave me that heads up before going on there. So I had a minute to kind of gather my thoughts. Soon as I wrapped up that phone call, I started typing up the trade article because I knew it was going to happen. Like, it was just a matter of when. Fortunately, I got it all done in time. But, man, I would say earlier in the week, last or whenever the contract negotiations, they got tabled, that kind of sent a red flag to me. Because even if you're going to place the franchise tag on them, you would still think that they're still going to have discussions, right? And that would go through the deadline of the franchise tag. So when those discussions came to an end, that signified to me like something's up here. Either they're going to maybe try and find a trade partner, or they're going to let Burns go through and see if he can sign an offer sheet somewhere else, and they go through that process and try to get the 2 first-round picks, which we discussed last week. Or maybe they just wait until after the draft and they start the conversations again. It just felt weird. And I don't know, but I'm probably more shocked that they actually did move on than anything. And when you get a second, a fifth, and you flip 5th round picks in addition to that, like that's tough, especially when you just gave up an opportunity where you had 2 first-round picks.
Wait a minute. They threw in another 5th, or
it was a second, a 5th, and then a swap of 5ths. So there's 2 5ths involved. One of them they get, the other one's a swap of 5ths.
Okay, so before I get into the details of that, before I get Stu comments on everything, let me get the reads in real quick from Bet Online, because if I don't, we'll read them at the 55-minute mark, and Bleav will be.
So be ticked to you, boy.
Like again, Daz, you read it at the very end of the show. It's supposed to be at the very beginning. Bet Online continues to be your number one source for all your basketball wagering needs, including pro and college hoops throughout the year. With up-to-the-minute odds, stats, and trends, you can follow your favorite team's path to the playoffs with in-game live betting, contests, and all the best player props. Experience the world's best wagering platform anytime from your desktop or your mobile devices. Head to Bet Online today to become part of the team, and remember to use the promo code Bleav, BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, the game starts here. And then also, we have a great new sponsor called Cut. Cut allows us to basically bet against our friends. It's a peer-to-peer social betting platform that's legal in 40 states. Lord knows it's probably legal in North Carolina because everything else is betting laws right now. If you haven't been near your mailbox or email or a friend
watching TV
outside, just anywhere like billboard, we can bet here now in North Carolina. If you didn't know, Cut has customizable odds tracking capabilities and an entire social network with group chats, user profiles, and rewards. All payments, no need for Venmo. Use the promo code Bleav, BLEAV, for a 10% welcome deposit bonus. Don't forget the promo code Bleav. Cut. Put your money where your mouth is. I'm going to tell you guys, Bleav, they emailed me yesterday and said that Cut's having some kind of March Madness watch party or something downtown in Charlotte, I think March 22nd, and that we were invited to go to it. It's a Friday, I believe. So it's probably like the opening weekend of March Madness. So they said food and drinks will be comped. The owner wants to meet and things of that sort. I was like, well, hey, we might check that out. I'll let the boys know and we'll see. If we make something happen, we can roll through this Cut thing or whatever that's going on. So back to the misery. Stu, what where were you when you found out Ryan Burns was heading to New York? Because I was in the car picking up a pizza or something, and I heard it over the radio. I was like, what? And a friend texted me while I was getting back in the car, and I had to scramble to Twitter. And it got to the point where I was scared to get on Twitter by the end of the day because of just everyone just going off like to college, like different places or whatever. It was crazy. Where were you when the Burns thing hit?
Yeah, I was in the car, and so once I got to my destination, I sat in the parking lot. You know, that's the safest thing to do when you get information that you're kind of like shocked about. So you pull over, you sit in the parking lot, and you digest. You know, it's just like when you go get fast food restaurant. You know what I'm saying?
You gotta let it marinate a little bit.
It'll just happen. You process it.
But yeah, man, it was one of those things though where I felt kind of like what Schuyler was saying. You know, obviously this has been going on for a year now, probably longer than that than we know, right? As far as negotiations. And you know, what fans got to realize, man, is, you know, once you go and get into this situation at this stage in the off season, where a guy like Burns doesn't have a contract, you know, it's really kind of leaving it up to whomever to basically say what his value is, because there's nothing.
We lost your audio, Stu. Your audio went out.
Oh, you can hear me now?
Yeah. There you go. It's always when you're cooking too. Always when you're cooking, you be cooking and it just goes out. Go ahead, keep going.
But basically, man, like without a contract in place, you know, it's hard to really place a value on guys like Brian Burns, and that's kind of what, you know, the Panthers were left with. A situation where, you know, a lot of people think that they should have gotten more about a year ago now, and that's not the case. So you gotta, you know, pick up the pieces and move up the weight.
For those that are new, and I see there's a flood of people coming in here that normally aren't in here today, probably wanting to vent their frustrations. We're always open mailbag. You can always comment in the YouTube comment section at youtube.com/@Tobacco Road Sports Radio, or on Facebook. any of the locations where it's at on Facebook Watch. I don't know if it comes in through Twitter or not, but if you do, we'll be able to read your comments on air. We do a thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you why we mad, son.
Go tell them why you're mad. I figured this is a good day for it. Probably y'all are probably a little upset about a couple things. We haven't even got to the rest of the folks that are no longer having key cards that work in Charlotte. So we'll talk a little bit about them as well. Spence 22 says, I really feel for Youre. We begged him to stay, then totally dismantled his defensive roster. Not fair to him at all because he has nothing to work with now. You were absolutely right. He just lost 4 starters, literally in a day.
I will say this, and I try to keep an open mind with everything. But aside from Burns, maybe this is kind of his chance to mold the defense to what he wants it to be, right? Because even last year, with the defense finishing 3rd in the NFL in total defense, a lot of those guys are playing new positions for the first time. There was defensive ends playing outside linebacker, vice versa, inside guys playing outside, and inside. I mean, there's just a lot of different pieces. And we talked about it last offseason. We're like, this is going to take like 2 off seasons to really get this defense to where it needs to be and have the guys that they need in place. So maybe this is his chance. I mean, I don't think he would have signed off on letting Burns go, but or Louvu for that matter. But hey,
you going what? Hey, we
if him.
So what we going? What's the plan moving for? Okay, we're gonna get some guys. Okay, all right.
But for him, I mean, you got to think of it like this too. This is really a chance for Youre to say, like, hey, I'm losing all these guys, and if I turn out another top 10, top 12 defense, someone's going to hire me as a head coach. Because if you take away Brian Burns, Frankie Louvu, even you could probably throw Youre in there for whatever, and Dante Jackson and Von Bell, you take all those guys away from this defense, and if he somehow finds a way to get them in the top 10 or top 12, he's got to be a head coach next year.
Yeah, because I got to imagine that they told him this plan, like when all this was getting put together.
Absolutely. Listen,
now it's talked so highly about Youre.
That would be bad business.
It's like, I love him. That's why I wanted to come here. He's got the whole defense. Oh, we're trading them all away. We're getting rid of all of them.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, man. Like as far as what we know about this coaching staff and what's going to like take place moving forward, collaboration, alignment. Those are all the things that we've been hearing. And I'm pretty sure it's being, preached and it's actually been practiced. So I'm pretty sure he was fully aware of what's happening. At the end of the day, Dan has the plan. And I feel like I feel way better about what's happening because Dan Morgan's in place. So, obviously there's a lot of money moves that had to be made. And that's the reason why we have Brandt Tillis. Brandt Tillis, he's clearly here to be able to work his magic in a situation that seems a little bit impossible. And so right now we're watching it happen. We're watching it unfold. Now it's about getting the guys here to make that difference.
And let me say this too. There's a lot of people coming after Dan Morgan for this. This is not Dan's doing. Right. This is all on Scott Fitterer.
Yeah, he's fixing what couldn't have been done last year.
He literally walked into
people are getting upset. Like, and trust me, I think it's a sick situation too that you can't even get a first round pick for Brian Burns. But you got to look at what it is compared to what the situation was 2 years ago. 2 years ago, Brian Burns still had 1.5 years left on his contract. He was getting paid on his rookie deal. And that team would have had control. Now the situation is he's not under contract. He's on the franchise tag. You're going to have to pay him a crap ton of money and give something up to get him. So you're not going to do all that and give up a first-round pick. That was never going to happen. So I guess, for them to at least get a second-round pick out of it definitely helps. But that's not Dan Morgan settling by any means. That's just them saying, look, this is the best we can do. And we're going to take it and move on, free up some money to sign some guys on the offensive side of the ball. Because if that wasn't the best, if they didn't feel that was the best offer they could get, then they wouldn't have done it.
Right. And you got to kind of look at it this way too. Brian Burns is 25, and I get it. He's young. We drafted him. He's one of our first round talents that yet again we're seeing go off to another team. But you got to look at where the team is right now too. Say we had signed Brian
$30 million.
Yeah, you can't. First of all, the Giants promptly gave him a 5-year, $150 million deal or whatever. Now, I've seen yet again one of the things we've taught you guys on Bleav in Panthers. Don't look at the total number. Look at the guaranteed money. The guaranteed money kind of comes out to him making more like 18 million per. So a lot of fans are looking at like, oh, we couldn't afford 18 million per when we just signed that offensive lineman for $100 million or whatever. He's going to make 20. That doesn't make any sense.
Can't fix everything at once.
Can't fix everything at once. Plus, with Burns, it's almost like you got to look at the team. If this is 2024 and Burns is 25, how many years away would you say we really are to being? Look at what happened around the league in our division yesterday too. We got a new quarterback in Atlanta. Like we got to look at some of these things. How long do you really think it's going to be before the Panthers are really competitive again?
Well,
is it 2 years? Is it longer than that? Because if it is, you're just you're just burning money to Burns to be here at this point.
I don't want to be the pessimistic one, but that's kind of my role in the show, right? but let's
All
be
right,
honest.
hold on, everybody sign off. Skyler's about to talk about something bad.
What are you about to say?
but let's be honest here. Like, you got to think from Dan's perspective and even maybe Brant's perspective. Like, you really don't know about Bryce Young right now. He's only heading into year 2. If for whatever reason the worst case scenario happens and Bryce turns out to not be the guy that you thought he would be, now all of a sudden you're still trying to figure out that quarterback position while paying a guy on the defense $30-some million.
That don't make
sense. You can't have because if you're going to reset that quarterback window again in 2 or 3 years, if Bryce doesn't work out, then you just wasted all that time with Brian Burns, all that money, and he could have been playing elsewhere. You could have had draft picks.
Yep.
There's no use to you don't want to trap yourself with that. So that's why it makes sense to kind of break it down and start all over and start as if this is the way I view it is basically this is Bryce's rookie season. If we're being honest, this is his first real chance. You're actually putting pieces around him, and you're going to have a roster that looks like it's going to have the number 1 pick on it, as opposed to what they tried to do last year.
Man, you nailed it. I know it's a tough pill for a lot of Panther fans to swallow, and that's why I like that we do the show on Tuesdays, because whenever stuff happens over the weekend or a Monday, we get a chance to sleep on it and get up and kind of rationally kind of work our way through it instead of the emotional, what are they doing? Dan Morgan's crazy. We're back where we were, square one, all that nonsense. You're absolutely right. There was no reason to do that. And the Burns camp probably realized this too at some point, which is probably why the negotiations broke off once the new regime came in and they saw what they were doing. It's the Band-Aid they needed to rip off after they traded Christian McCaffrey, to be honest. And I've talked about this on the show, where if you're going to do a full-blown rebuild, don't stop in the middle of the rebuild and try to win the division. Like that, literally, that's what they kind of did. They sent off their best player on the team, basically fired the coach midseason, and it looked like we were going to start a rebuild. That was the word around the league. But then they got hot, and we're like, well, let's kind of see what we have. And they prolonged this for like a year, pretty much. So like what we're going to do right now, we should have went through last offseason, and we didn't. So moving on off of Burns, because Burns is in New York now. I think the one that hurt the franchise or the fan base the most from what I'm seeing wasn't necessarily Burns, because that's been kind of 50-50. Yeah, it was Oos, man. It was Frankie Louvu. And Stu's got on his jersey. Going to the Washington Commanders, got a 3-year deal.
Yeah, I'm happy for him, though.
Yeah, I'm happy for him, because if that's the same logic, then we weren't going to sign Frankie either, probably, because we can't afford the money to sign these guys for a team that's going to be, let's be honest, not at its best when we start the season next year. Thoughts on Louvu leaving Carolina and going to DC?
Yeah, man. DC Commanders, you guys got yourself a dog.
Real.
I mean, Frankie Louvu last year. I mean, you watch the defense, and he stands out by himself every single play. The way he moves, even when he's not, not necessarily making a play on the ball, his energy wherever he is on the field, it's in attack mode. And on deep, when you got a defense that's being led by a guy like that, you're bound to be able to play pretty well, like the Carolina Panthers played last year, because it takes a lot of heart, it takes a lot of determination and mindset, especially on a defense, that's playing on a team that's having offensive struggles like we've had, the last several years, to be able to just show up and just do your job. Frankie Louvu seems like he was doing that every single day, bringing his hard hat, and a guy that's not going to, make any room for complaints. And so when you got guys like that on a team, it's hard to see him go. And so definitely a sad day, I'm pretty sure, for that locker room, seeing some guys, drift away. I know from, personal experience, seeing guys that you really bond with and that you really consider being a sorry about that. You guys hear a bark? That's my
What is that?
It's my dog. That's my dog down there.
Oh, trust me,
my dog's sad about Louvu too.
Hey, dog recognized dog, right?
Yeah,
right. Dog recognized dog right now. That's hilarious. but no, man. I think I think what the fan base should absolutely understand is right now this is off season. Dan Morgan's in position and he's cooking right now. And so, the phrase, let him cook.
And in fact, he's at the beginning of the recipe too. So don't judge the cake until it comes out the oven, because y'all are looking at the ingredients on the board like you can't make chicken out of that. It's like
we will keep receipts. We will keep receipts.
We keep receipts. We keep receipts here at Bleav Panthers.
We can, like I said, we can be upset about the return on Burns not being a first round pick, but that's on Scott Fitterer for not pulling the trigger 2 years ago. That's not on Dan. You've got to be able to let this thing play out. And that's why, I think there's a lot of fans just get overreactionary to every little thing that happens. Like as soon as the Burns trade was made yesterday, everyone's starting to say, well, let's take that second round pick that they got and send it to Cincinnati for T. Higgins. No, you're just getting rid of the asset that you just got for a guy that you're going to try and pay wide receiver one money for. That's not a number one wide receiver. This is not the solution.
It's the same problem. We're not in a position to pay big money yet to anybody really, except for, again, as this was all going down yesterday, my mind was like, Derek Brown is the only untouchable on this roster to me. Even Bryce Young, I don't care. Derek Brown is the only one where I'm like, you cannot let him go out the door. You got to figure this out.
Stu said it yesterday in our group chat. Pay the damn man now. Before it gets expensive.
Every time a team waits, it's never going to be cheaper, ever. No. Even Dak Prescott got hurt during his negotiation. He still got more money than what he was asking for originally by the time he got it done.
Look at what Christian Wilkins. Look at the deal he got.
Him and Max Crosby in Las Vegas. We're going to get to around the league in a bit, because there was a lot of movement yesterday, in particular at running back. So I want to get Stu's opinion on that, because that market's been cold the past 2 years.
I'm mad. I'm mad about something.
I thought you might. Yeah, I thought you might have something to say.
I'm gonna tell you what it does.
We can get to it later. But going back to this whole what's I'm gonna call it?
Louvu?
Derek Brown.
Oh, Derek Brown.
It's like when you go to a restaurant, when you go to a bar, what's your favorite wing spot?
Oh,
favorite wing spot?
Yeah, just name one.
Do I have to have one?
It don't matter. Just name one.
Right now, there's a franchise up here called East Coast Wings.
Okay, East Coast Wings. So when you go to East Coast Wings, how many wings do you order?
10, 15.
That's lightweight.
All right, so 10, 15.
It's just me.
So when you order 10 and you eat your last wing and you know it was good, and you was like, man, that wing's so good, I wish I could have at least one more. Go ahead and just order 15 next time.
Yeah, that's kind of how I got to 15.
Right. So Derek Brown is like, when you taste something that tastes really good and you know it's good, it's proven concept. It's a proven concept. Just go ahead and order 20 wings.
Yeah.
Get that man 20 wings, please.
You'll get to it some point.
Yeah.
You'll get to it, right?
Yeah, they ain't gonna go. Yeah, that's a good point.
Do it now, because when you get there later, and he's at you got 10 wings to give him, and he's like, nah, I need 20.
Yeah,
because I know I'm really good.
Well, we don't want to pay you 20. We don't want to give you 20.
We don't have to. We already gave 10. We gave 20.
We already gave some of those wings to somebody else. But yeah,
that's probably a bad analogy, but you know what I'm saying.
No, it worked. Derek Brown. I totally got it. I'm hungry.
Yeah.
It's lunchtime. I'm hungry. Derek Brown's probably the only player on the roster where he could potentially, and I don't think I'm talking crazy when I say this, he's the only one that we have that I can see be a top 10 league player in the next 12 to 18 months, if not already.
I got some news for you. I feel like he's a top 10 now.
Yeah, he might be right now. He's just getting hidden from the national media because of where he is. But
right. What record did he break last year? Hello.
Yeah. Oh, the tackle record for tackles, defensive tackles. Yeah.
Okay,
You would have thought
so-
Aaron Donald or somebody would have had it, and he cleared that thing.
Yeah,
And
he
he's
cleared it up.
what is this, year 3 for Brown? Year 3
No,
going into
he
year
was,
4.
he was drafted in 20.
Okay, so he's going into year 4, right? Yeah.
Yep.
20,
Yeah, so
1, 2, 3.
sign that, man. Sign that, man.
Year 5.
Oh, year 5.
Oh Lord. So yeah, they got to do it now. They got to sign him now.
Get on the bench.
What are you doing? What are you waiting? No, that talked in our that can pop up in our text chat too, where we were like, maybe they're clearing all this out so they can sign Derek Brown now. But again, from what Schuyler said at the very beginning, does it make sense to lock him in for 5 years when we might be 2+ years away from competing? But you don't want to let him walk either. You don't let top 10 dudes just walk out your door. Oh wait, we did that already with Christian McCaffrey, so maybe we just do that kind of thing.
All I know is we should start changing this whole. We should change the frame of how we speak about the Panthers right now. The terminology. Oh, we, like it should now start with, you know what? Whatever happened in the past, it's in the past.
Yeah.
It's time to. We got to pick up the pieces.
Clean slate.
All right.
Yeah.
Because right now, Dan and Tillis, they're cooking.
I keep forgetting Brant Tillis is here. They could do a contract with Brant Tillis here and figure out a way to push money down the road to, you know what? Sign Derek Brown.
Listen, I ain't even worried about it. I'm not going to be like, whatever's happening, it's happening for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And we have, I Bleav, the best leadership in place to make these types of things go over smoothly, or as smooth as possible.
People can comment in the comment section here, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube or Twitter. We did have a test tweet come in, and we are getting those tweets from in here, so we can comment to all of you. Zach Jose says, please do not add Derek Brown to the opening jingle. He might get traded like the last 3. This trade hurts, and losing Lubu hurts even more. I'm putting Stu in there. I'll have a new intro next week. I can't deal with it anymore. In fact, I was racking my brain last night. It's like, who could I put in there? Like, who was left for me to put? I don't want to put
Sir Purr in there. Put Sir Purr, the bear, in there.
I'll put JJ Jansen in there. He's like the only safe one. Like,
don't you do that. Don't you do that.
I should do it as a test just to see if it gets traded Friday.
Shout out to JJ Jansen for his 26th year in the league.
Yeah, for real.
Or if there's I was gonna say I don't want to do that. I was gonna say
I don't want to jinx any players. So
if there's a Panther you don't want on the roster, maybe
we ain't be talking that. Scott, what are you doing, man? This is a positive Pete
I'm trying to get Buddy up out of here. Let me put him in the intro.
Podcast.
How about maybe like if you want an opposing player out and we just
put like did I didn't ever have Baker Mayfield in there. So Baker Mayfield got his money this week. $3 million, 3 years, $100 million.
Baker, man, over there, Bacon.
Everybody got paid. Before we go over to around the league, and another thing too, it was a huge show today. We got cooking. I got to get it before Stu gets out of here. The Panthers Ultimate 53-man roster that we've been putting together. For the newbies that are in today, go follow us on our Twitter account at Bleav in Panthers over on Twitter. We are doing an Ultimate Panther 53-man roster. The fans vote on this. So far, we have done head coach Ron Rivera, 1 over John Fox. We've done quarterbacks. Cam Newton is QB1, Jake Delhomme is QB2, and we did defensive coordinators. Sean McDermott is the defensive coordinator for the Ultimate Panthers 53. Up right now, that one might be closed. The offensive coordinator poll is up, and I did 2 wide receiver groups to make it fair. So there's wide receiver group 1, wide receiver group 2. The top 2 in each one will move forward. So we'll have 4 wide receivers. We'll get to that at the end of the show today. And then we'll talk about which the next ones are going to be. But that's starting to get really interesting.
T. Higgins is not on that list, by the way.
T. Higgins is not on that list. And again, I saw a lot of folks like, hey, take that 2 and send it to Cincy, bring in T. T's going to want $30 million a year. Like it doesn't make sense to have a wide receiver. And
he's
I don't know
got Jamar Chase. He's got
Joe Burrow.
Come on.
Yeah. So Bleav to you. I'd rather have rookie wide receivers that Bryce can grow with, especially now, because didn't the Giants give up their high second-round pick in this deal, like in the 30s?
There's a 39th, yeah.
So now we have the 32nd and 39th pick in this draft. 33rd. We have the 33rd and 39th pick in this draft. So we have 2 picks in the top 40. That's how I look at it. We have 2 picks in the top 40 of this draft that's been, by all accounts, supposed to be super deep at wide receiver, at offensive line, and secondary, if I'm not mistaken. And those are the big hot spots that we don't have. Like, we literally are missing the starters at those 3 positions. So maybe this was a plan just to get young overall. build the base. Again, you got Derek Brown on your defensive line on a rookie deal still, and on the offensive line,
we got
yesterday
Damian Lewis and Robert Hunt.
I'll say
saw-
this.
I didn't see the Damian Lewis signing.
That's what really piqued or perked my attention or perked my eyes up, because when I saw they gave Robert Hunt $100 freaking million,
Yeah,
I knew something was about to go
because it was
down.
before the Burns thing happened. Yeah, I was like, how is that
You knew
possible?
something had to have been freed up, because there's no way you could pay that much money to a guy and have Burns back and Louvu or one of the other. Like,
they were basically like,
what I love about this sign, you got a guy, Robert Hunt. He's been trending in the direction of getting better every single year. So you're not getting a guy that's peaked out. The same thing with Damian Lewis. So like you're getting guys that, you know, have some youth to them and are growing and getting better. And it seems to be coachable, because you don't want a guy that, you know, has peaked or, you know, that's not coachable, has all the talent in the world, gets here, doesn't know how to adapt, and then now you left with your foot in your mouth. So
these are some bad linemen too, and I'm using the acronym there. Big lime dudes, big dudes. Look how big they are. Huge. Robert
this is massive. Yeah.
6'6", 320, 330.
He looks like he's nasty.
Lewis, have you seen the biceps on Damian Lewis?
Yeah.
It is insane. They are bigger than my thighs.
Got them Saquon Barkley bicep arms.
Robert Hunt, you saw that clip of him running.
Yeah,
he caught that ball. That boy can move. He actually like made a jump cut in the middle of the field.
Did he score a touchdown?
Yes, he did. It got called back. It was either a touchdown or it was like a 2-point conversion. I can't remember. But it got called. I think it got called back though.
Yeah.
I didn't even know about the Damian Lewis thing, and so I just went to go pull up what the Panthers did over the past 24 hours. So they went and got 2 guards, Damian Lewis, Robert Hunt, released Bradley Bozeman, center, and honestly, it didn't even help the cap. It was basically performance reasons. They're letting Bozeman go. I didn't know at the time that Bozeman gave up 8 sacks last year in the middle of that offensive line.
I thought that'd be a post-1 June designation, or post-June 1 designation. I don't know why they didn't do that, unless it's just to do right by Bradley.
So he can land someplace. Yeah. They released tight end Hayden Hurst, which isn't too much of a surprise. Hurst didn't play really the last third of the season. What did he have, a concussion, I think, or something to that effect?
He had that, I forget what they diagnosed it as. It was like some type of weird trauma.
Yeah, some kind of head injury. So he didn't even play after that. Of course, Burns was tagged and then traded off.
Von Bell.
Burns getting traded off. It does open up $24 million on the cap for the Panthers because the tag, of course, has been rescinded. He's no longer here. And J.J. Jansen re-signed on a 1-year deal, the long snapper. But the main news for Carolina was rebuilding the interior of the offensive line. And if they're doing it like we said last week, where if they're rebuilding it kind of the way the Saints had it with Drew Brees, where the strength of their team was the 2 guards in the center in front of Drew Brees to give him some kind of interior protection. So he's dropping back and able to climb the ladder, the stuff that we talked about on this show. I saw a clip of when they were talking about somebody that got signed. I think it was the Wilkins from Miami, when they were showing his clips. One of the clips was them against Carolina, and it was showing the back view of Bryce. And I was sitting there watching it, and we talked about it ad nauseum on the show, but I was like, hey, man, Bryce is getting out of that snap so slowly. Like, what is happening? It's almost like he doesn't know what he's supposed to be doing. And then 2, the dude is in there in like 2 seconds, 3 seconds, where he just comes straight up the middle. Like, it doesn't get touched sometimes. And I was thinking back, and some new stuff's come out about what happened with the coaching staff last year or whatever. There were times when we watched games last year, didn't it feel like that they didn't know what they were doing, like out on the field? Like, I don't want to say it out loud because that just sounds crazy, but
no identity.
Yeah, well, sometimes it was almost like they didn't even know the play. Like, it felt so weird, like looking back on it now. And maybe that's why Bryce was going back so slowly, because he's still trying to process where people are supposed to be. And remember, there'd be times where like Icky would guard inside and there's a dude on the outside and he doesn't get touched at all and just comes in freely, like after 2 seconds or whatever. There was just breakdowns that didn't make any sense. And I think we've rated some of these players like Icky and Bryce, the wide receivers, the offensive line. I think we've rated a lot of them based on the fact that we expected them to know what they were doing. When in actuality, maybe they weren't told what they were supposed to do, or they were told multiple ways from multiple people. Maybe that's a better way to put it. And it was just a lot of confusion.
Well, like we've talked about. I mean, you had 84 different philosophies on that offensive coaching staff.
So you don't have one really. If you've got all these different people in your ear, it just makes more. It's starting to make things make more sense to me looking back on the season. Questions we had were like, why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? I think it's because they literally did not have leadership in that locker room, which explains why Frank Wright only lasted 11 games. So
I mean, there's a reason. There's a reason why when you become a head coach in the NFL or really any sport for that matter, there's a reason why you hire your buddies, right? It's not just because you want to see them stay with you.
Relationships matter.
They know how you work, what your system is. There's a reason for that.
Anticipation, man. Like sometimes you got to have your six covered when you don't even know.
Yep.
So
yeah.
And last year they did not, but at least this year I like the fact that yes, it hurts that we're ripping off a scab pretty much by getting rid of some of these players. But I saw where someone was saying with Dave Canales, the difference here is that he's not emotionally attached to any of these players, which means that anyone can go. They can remold this thing any way they like. And maybe over the past couple of regimes, by keeping the GM or keeping coaching staff members or whatnot, you're also keeping players by default because you're attached to them and they're attached to you. That's not the case with this staff. Like this staff can literally come in and just start carving things up. And that's literally what happened yesterday.
And also too, like a fresh set of eyes to evaluate. You know, sometimes you get a coach that comes in here and sees, promise in a guy that no one sees promise in. And then you take a chance on a guy and then all of a sudden we're like, wait, this guy's been on our roster. Like what happened? Well, a good coach came in town and created a great environment to where this guy can be something special. So
something to do. Now, Mark Burks in the gallery saying it's okay in terms of the intro music. You didn't have to say Miles Sanders. We know you mean Miles Sanders. I'm not going to put Miles in the intro or reverse it and put T. Higgins.
Let that boy run behind Damian Lewis.
Yeah, I'm telling you, listen, Damian Lewis's run rating, run blocking, I saw some rating that was through the roof. Like, wait, he's compact. He's like compact. He's like 6'2". Like he's like like big boy. Like ain't nobody getting through no gap. You hear me? So, like when I say you got now our center situation,
I'm curious as to what they're planning on there because I don't know who's available. Actually, I do know who's available
because I can tell you, like I saw some comparisons to like Drew Brees and the Saints from back in the day. You know what made Drew Brees really special is having Max Unger. Shout out to my Oregon teammate, Max Unger, great center. Yeah. And a great center with two guards that are solid, like the ones that we just picked up yesterday. Yeah. I mean, we can. There's a lot that we should be excited for. I feel like Robert Hunt might be a tweener too, right? Like he can play multiple positions, right? He can play guard, he can play tackle. So you get guys in there that can be, adaptable, because at the end of the day, what we fall into is like, oh, this guy's a solidified position. Well, guess what? Football is a physical sport. Guys are gonna get injured. You're gonna need depth, and having depth doesn't mean you have two guards that play guard only. No, there's, all right, look, we need you to move to guard today, and you will be able to do that on the whim. Middle of the season. So plug and play type of guys that doesn't screw up the rhythm, because at the end of the day, if you can limit guys, coming in and out of a lineup, you gain chemistry that way. And so
one of the beauties of having Schuyler on is that he's also the beat writer for West Virginia athletics. And Richard Fearing is saying, and we mentioned this guy last week, actually, I hope we draft Zach Frazier from West Virginia to be the center of the future of Austin Corbett's going to move to center for 2024. You talked about him last week in terms of him being really nasty. And that's the guy you were talking about, broke his leg or whatever, had to drag himself off the field. I could see them drafting center with one now. So now the Panthers have 2 second-round picks early in the second round. I could see them using one of them and trading the other one and picking up even more picks. Like I could see them building this roster in the mid rounds, 3rd round, 4th round, 5th round, where you're getting, these offensive linemen and defensive rotational guys. Like that's what we didn't have last year. That's what, to your point, Schuyler, we were really thin after the starters. And then once we started getting hurt, it started to show. Maybe they see that and they start to try to build it that way.
Yeah, and I did an article on Zach last week on the Panthers site and why he's the perfect fit for them at 33 or maybe even 39 now. But, I mean, Jackson Powers-Johnson out of Oregon, Stu's guy, is, I think, the top center in the draft, and I just don't see him making it to the 2nd round. So that's why I pegged Zach Frazier there. But Drew Fabianich, he's the West Virginia GM. Yes, they have those in college now. That's becoming a new thing. He spent several years with the Dallas Cowboys front office scouting department and was a big part in drafting a lot of guys over the years with Dallas, and including Tyler Biadasz, who's now with the Washington Commanders. And he said that Zach Frazier is ahead of where Biadasz was when he came out of Wisconsin. So he also believes that he's probably got a mid to late 2nd round grade on Frazier if he was back in Dallas and he was scouting Frazier. But he said once teams started to sit down and have conversations with Zach, that teams were just going to start falling in love with him, and he could see him going late 1st round, early 2nd round, just because of the kind of person he is. So yeah, I think he's the perfect fit. I mean, you put him in a situation where he's got Damian Lewis to his left, Robert Hunt to his right. It's a pretty good situation to be in. And I'm telling you, this guy's IQ is through the freaking roof. He's not your ordinary center. He's played a ton of football. He started every single game except for one over the last 4 years. So
don't forget, too, we got Brady Christensen that was on IR from week 1 or whatever that's still here. And then Icky, your top pick from 2 years ago. So,
and I do like the possibility. I don't know how it would work out, but the thought of maybe moving Corbett to center, even if it's for 2024, you put him there, you let Zach kind of sit and learn a little bit until he's ready, and then you throw him into that role. Because I don't know that Corbett's going to go anywhere. I think his if you cut him now, it's going to be extremely expensive, but I don't know.
So we've gotten through most of the carnage, mainly on the defensive side, and I understand that a lot of fans were really upset about it yesterday. One of the fans that was really upset about it yesterday is country singer Luke Combs, who actually went onto his Twitter.
Yeah.
And
what are we doing?
Panthers. What are we doing? No 1st round pick for McCaffrey a few years back, and now none for Burns. Are we just firebombing the whole team here, or what? I usually don't comment on these kind of things, but it's become slow torture at this point.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you why we mad, son. I'm gonna tell you why we mad.
You got
son.
Luke Combs out here like calling out the Panthers, and something's going on. Like, I don't know, Luke. We don't know what to tell you, but we'd be more than happy to have you come on Bleav in Panthers, and you can kind of just let it out, man, because that's what we do here. Just get it out of your system. And
yeah, man, Luke, come on the show, man.
Come on the show, bro. We'll try to call at you and see what we can get put together. That's what we're here for. We're here to let you let out that stress.
I will say it's really cool to see guys like Luke Combs, show his passion for,
it is,
for his team. And I think that's really cool. Just like, if you're from a player's perspective, seeing, celebrities, music artists, be vocal about, the success possibilities for your team, wanting to, hey, what, like, let's be better, right? Like, I'm tired of, the last 6 years being the loophole of trying to figure things out. Let's just figure things out. And I think he's basically being the voice of all Panther fans right now with their frustration. And rightfully so. Like, there's a lot of things that have transpired over the years, and sometimes it doesn't seem like, rock bottom has hit yet. And it's like, did we hit rock bottom, or are we still going for rock bottom? And I will say this, like, I feel like we probably hit rock bottom.
I hope so. Please.
But I feel like the trajectory right now, like, we have a lot to be excited for because of our leadership and You got guys that know ball, know how to look a guy in the face, because what's going to take place now, like you're going to get, I'm pretty sure when they agreed on Robert Hunt, there was at least some type of face-to-face interaction to where, Dan Morgan was able to get a simple read on who he was by looking in his eyes.
They saw him up close in Miami last year too.
So, what I'm saying? Saw him up close, very up close in Miami last year. Jesus Christ. But I think there's just, I appreciate, guys like that stepping up and being vocal, because it just means that it matters. It's bigger than just, entertainment. It's bigger than just, something to watch on a Sunday. This is his team. This is something that he wants to cherish and be proud of. And as everybody, all the fans of Carolina, for the Panthers. And so shout out to my boy Luke.
So we're gonna hit these quick so I can make sure we get them all in, because Stu's got to be out. He's got a heart out here in a little bit. Before we leave free agency and get over to the Ultimate Panthers 53-man roster around the league, what's the biggest thing that stood out to you guys from yesterday's carnage? Well, not even carnage, because a lot of teams remodeled themselves into something else. The NFC South became different with the arrival of Kirk Cousins in Atlanta. We've always been saying they're probably about a quarterback away. Now, Granny's coming off an Achilles injury, but he's 35. Kirk Cousins he'll end up making $411 million over his career when this is over with, and guaranteed money. Kirk Cousins, like, my man he's played the game. He has played the game, and he played it to win. And now he's in Atlanta on a $100 million guaranteed deal. Baker Mayfield signs at Tampa Bay. You want to talk running backs, because I'm sitting here looking on PFF. There were 9 running backs signed yesterday, whereas last year people were clowning us for signing Miles Sanders for $25 million or whatever. I'm looking at some of these deals that some of these dudes got. Barkley with the Eagles. Josh Jacobs signed with the Packers. Tony Pollard's with the Titans. DeAndre Swift went to the Bears. Devin Singletary with the Giants. Gus Edwards is going to the Chargers. Antonio Gibson signed with the Patriots. There's still Derrick Henry is still out there.
Vikings, I believe, right? I don't know if that's official, but
who is it?
Aaron Jones to the Vikings.
It's not on here yet, but Aaron Jones is a free agent. He's out there. AJ Dillon is out there. No, wait, I think AJ. No, I guess he is still out there.
Aaron Jones is on the free agency market, but did he get signed to the Vikings?
I think there was mutual interest, and I thought that they were heading.
That would be a great fit for him.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire as a free agent. Derrick Henry as a free agent right now. I've seen a lot of signs of him maybe going to Dallas, but I don't know. But
Baltimore, I think.
Oh yeah, in Baltimore. Ooh, him and Lamar.
That would be dangerous over there, man.
But you had a bone to pick regarding this, though, right, Stu?
Yeah, man, I got a bone to pick. I'm upset.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you why we mad, son.
Let's go,
man. Listen, Tiki Barber, what are you doing? Why are you always going after my boy Saquon Barkley about something Giants related? Like you supposed to be a locker room guy, man. Like you supposed to be happy when guys get the bag.
What'd he say?
Man, he said basically, Saquon Barkley, you're dead to us. You're dead to me. Like, because he signed with the Philadelphia Eagles. Brother, listen, this is the business.
It was a division rival. They did go to division rival, though. You know how that goes.
If the Giants wanted Saquon, they would have paid Saquon.
They made it clear they did not want to pay Saquon.
They made it very clear. So you know what? Bump you. I'm going.
What was he supposed to do?
Yeah, like come on, bro. Like you sound like one of them fans are like, oh man, I hate you for leaving the Panthers. Man, but by the way, they released me. So it wasn't you know what I'm saying? But like, come on, man. Like this is like that don't make no sense. Like, and I think like what's happening now, like get guys that obviously are passionate about their teams, as I'm passionate about the Carolina Panthers. But when you see a guy that chooses to sign with another team based on getting the bag, you were once in that situation. Yeah. You would have gotten the bag too. So, and they got Jalen Hurts. So Like there's more than one reason for a guy to sign with a team.
They just
like
won the Super Bowl 2 years ago. Yeah,
Yeah, bro. Like,
still,
listen,
they were
like,
10-0.
Saquon, like I played with him for a year. Great athlete, great kid. His mindset is based on winning. And like they haven't really been doing that consistently. Like, why waste his time? Why waste his talent, this generational talent, somewhere that hasn't been able to get it right? And especially if you don't want to get it right with him, clearly he's been the best player on that offense, on that team for years. So
You're right.
like let's pick up the pieces. Move out the way.
I should have named the episode that. The one where they picked up the pieces. Real quick before we got to get out of here, we'll review the entire free agent thing around the league next week because we ran out of time here. But did want to get to the Ultimate 53 again. Go to Bleav in Panthers at Bleav in Panthers on our Twitter account right now. If you're watching this, go and follow us there. The fans put this together. I don't do it. Schuyler doesn't do it. Stu doesn't do it. We just look at the picks that you guys made and make the roster off of there. I just want to give you guys an update on that before we get out of here today. This week it was offensive coordinator. We had Dan Henning, Mike Schuyler, Rob Chudzinski, and Norv Turner. Mike Schuyler is your offensive coordinator for the Ultimate 53-man roster. Norv Turner coming in second. I actually kind of had a soft spot for Chud. That was a pretty fun offense to watch with you guys with the two tight ends. And that was Cam's rookie year and sophomore year, if I'm not mistaken. So that was a fun flying offense. And then from there, it got interesting because I ended up doing the so I'm scrolling up trying to find it, wide receivers. So I moved over to wide receivers, and I had to do it in a way where it was fair. So I split them into two different groups. So it was wide receiver group 1 and wide receiver group 2. And in wide receiver group 1, it was Steve Smith, Kelvin Benjamin, Ricky Prohl, and Mark Carrier. And actually, now I'm sitting there looking at it, Steve Smith, of course, is going to move on to the wide receiver room. Kelvin Benjamin and Ricky Prohl tied. So I'm not sure what to do about that. Yeah, I guess, are we the tiebreaker? I think we should be the tiebreaker. I didn't expect that to happen, but who would you rather have on the squad, Kelvin Benjamin or Ricky Prohl? You played with both, didn't you, Stu?
Yeah, no, I didn't play with Ricky.
You didn't play with Ricky? Okay.
Ricky Prohl was receivers coach.
He was on the team. Yeah, right. And he actually owns Prolific Park up here in Greensboro, big, huge athletic complex.
We should put Stu on the spot and make him pick it.
Nah, you ain't gonna make me pick. All I know is both are two different receivers, obviously.
Very different.
Very different. You got one that's basically a skyscraper.
Yeah.
And then you got one that's a glove. So
Kelvin Benjamin's still in the league?
No.
Nah.
I didn't think he was. Ricky Prohl, man, he's got some clutch catches in his career as a Panther in big games, Super Bowls. Like, he's the possession guy. I think I would probably, I guess. Is it rookie Kelvin Benjamin, or is it like Benjamin after he left here?
Well, I mean, you got to go with their whole career, right?
Yeah. If that's the case, I guess I'd say Prohl.
Yeah, Pro.
I'd
Pro,
go
man.
probably
Good Prohl. Okay, so
I like Pro.
that's okay. It's a good mix. So Steve Smith and Ricky Prohl were in batch 1, and then in batch 2, which just went up a couple of days ago, and that might still be going on, but we're going to end it here on the show as I'm trying to pull it up off my Twitter. Here we go.
Hey, your Twitter feed is off the chain.
Yeah, buddy. You should see my twin, the Bitcoin guy. His stuff is still going strong. Yo, Bitcoin, man, ever since they took over my account, Bitcoin has exploded. So maybe they knew what they were doing. So my Bitcoin account is looking nice right now. So I'm like, keep on doing what y'all doing over the old account. Wide receiver group 2. This one's a more clear cut. Moose Muhammad, Ted Ginn Jr., DJ Moore, and Brandon LaFell. Moose Muhammad and DJ Moore are the two that are advanced. So your wide receiver room is Steve Smith, Ricky Prohl, Moose Muhammad, and DJ Moore. That ain't bad, actually. I'm kind of proud of y'all, Panther Nation. That y'all did that right.
Y'all did y'all thing, man.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm good to go with that. Got a possession receiver. You got a wide receiver 1 and Smitty. You got wide receiver 2 and Moose. DJ Moore can be. I can roll with that.
Which, by the way, if you actually just look at all these, like the 4 names you just put up before and the 4 names you have right here, I would take these groups any day.
Oh, by group 1 or group 2? Yeah, for sure. That's why I was like, I was trying to split them up so it would be fair. Because I was like, I can't put Smitty and Moose and DJ Moore all in the same thing because you can only pick 2, and I don't want to make it that bad. Now it's going to get rough when we get to your category, running back, because there's a number to choose from. That's why I was like, I'm not even putting Stu in it. Stu is advancing. I'm just going to advance Stu to the roster because I ain't letting the fan base mess this up. Like they're going to mess this up, man. I can't. I don't trust them.
We've had a number of running backs that have come through the Carolina Panthers with amounts of talent that some organizations won't ever sniff at the running back position.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Don't be sad. Be glad. Listen, I am a bruiser that jumps over piles. There's some guys out there that we've had. I think about guys like Mike Goodson. If man, like
I'm putting Tolbert in here.
To me, he was one of the best running backs that not a lot of people knew about. When he went to the Raiders, I think he got hurt. But like he was out there mixing people up in practice every single day. Like that defense had to go out there and practice against Mike Goodson. That's how good he was to me. And then obviously every time he came in the game, it was just a change in speed of the game. My man was fast, cutting on a dime. Ran like Reggie Bush a little bit, but bigger and like more physical a little bit. But then you got obviously D'Angelo Williams. He's a home run threat every time he touches the ball.
He's gonna be in there. He's gonna be in the mix.
I mean, you got Christian McCaffrey, who is Christian McCaffrey. Christian freaking McCaffrey. CMC.
He might make an appearance. Yeah, he might be in there. I'm putting I'm going all the way back. Like
Christian Jackson McCaffrey. I should list his name as Jackson.
Is that his real name? Christian Jackson McCaffrey.
You know what we should do is make Stu at some point. We'll force him to do it. Start, cut, bench, Stu, CMC, and D'Angelo.
Ooh.
I'm gonna bench myself every time.
So we get those in there. I'm seeing some names pop up. So maybe running back's gonna be next. Nick Goings, Fred Lane, rest in peace, Fred Lane. Yeah, we got some ones.
Joe Mixon was released.
Ooh,
yeah.
I'm also seeing James Winston going to the Browns.
Yep.
There's all kinds of stuff going on right now. Like this ain't over.
Yeah, it's drunk.
He'll probably get to play too because Deshaun. I don't know how many games Deshaun's going to give him.
Right now, I don't feel
is that the worst trade ever? Is that the worst trade ever as we get out of here? The Houston trade to Cleveland?
As of right now, is how things stand. But there's still time. There's time to resolve.
I was going to say the Chicago might be in there before all said and done, and then Seattle to Denver. Russell Wilson.
You're not supposed to talk about that on the podcast. You're not supposed to say things like that.
Russell to Denver is definitely by far.
That's got to be up there too now, especially with Denver eating 80-something million in dead money just to get them off.
Paying them pennies, man.
Something's wrong. Something is wrong for Seattle and Denver to give up on Russell Wilson over the past 36 months, and he have to take a vet minimum. Well, he doesn't have to take it. He did. He's getting $38 million from Denver anyway. But something I agree with Shannon Sharp for what you were saying the other day on First Take. For all the attributes that Russell Wilson has, all the wins, all the great stats or whatever, there's something wrong that's causing teams to just not want to take a chance on him. But I will say this: our boy Stu last week nailed it because he said Steelers would be the best place for him to go, and I was like, and then it went down. It's like, actually, you know what? That sounds pretty damn good. So,
man, listen. Russell Wilson is about to win a Super Bowl.
Let Russ cook.
Let Russ cook
in Pittsburgh.
In Pittsburgh, because
I mean, we know they're gonna have a winning record. Tomlin's still there.
Because I'm gonna tell you why. What did the Seahawks have that the Broncos didn't have?
Defense. No, never had defense. Well, yeah, not the same, but yeah.
But I will tell you this: the Steelers are always in the playoff run because of their defense.
Yeah,
and sometimes or I'll say this: the style of play, right? Which is, hey, don't give up any points. Sometimes they might give up some points, but they out there knocking people in the mouth. I can tell you that, right? And so
they went 10-7 last year.
Right. And so you add Russell Wilson to the mix, and the way he played last year, the way Russell Wilson played last year had us all scratching our head when they were like, oh, we're going to release him. Okay. So you put him on a squad that actually wants him and basically got him for dang near free.
And he can just play action and just not have to
to shoulder anything. It's basically a remake of the Seattle Seahawks situation.
Yep.
Okay?
I agree. And he's got some weapons.
He doesn't have to shoulder everything, and he can rely on the running game. He can rely on defense, and you got it. And now the Steelers have a guy that knows how to make good decisions. So,
man, I keep forgetting about running backs. Richard Fearon, Stephen Davis, and Deshaun Foster, the original double trouble that led to the amazing double trouble of D'Angelo Williams and Jay Stu. I completely forgot about Deshaun Foster and Stephen Davis. And shout out to Deshaun Foster. He's the new coach at UCLA, right?
Yep. Bruins.
So, man, running backs will be. How many can I keep? 4?
7.
You can keep 9.
Every one just rotate them.
Because I don't even know how to do that. Because I can't. Fullback's going to be a separate category. Because
good luck.
Yeah, so we might do running backs this week. That's going to be tough. So again, shout out to everybody that's come in today to watch the show live. It's one of the biggest shows that we've had on the live stream. And go to our Twitter account at Bleav in Panthers. Follow us there. You get clips throughout the week. When the show drops, you can see it there. And also, you'll get the latest news and info from Schuyler, who writes for All Panthers SI over at Sports Illustrated. So a lot of stuff will transfer over there and just get you all that info that you need. We appreciate everybody coming through. We got to get out of here, though. Again, we'll hit the free agency stuff. By the time we get back next week, maybe the smoke will have cleared and most people will have been signed. We can kind of take a macro view of what just happened. The Panthers aren't done yet. Now they've cleared up some space with some money. With Burns being gone, they're going to probably continue to sign some folks. I just hope that we get past Friday and Derek Brown is still a Panther. That's kind of where I'm at right now. So I'm just kind of waiting to see what they're really planning on doing.
I'm betting on the fact that he will remain a Panther.
I think I'm going to stay there too.
And I'm also going to – where do y'all think Derek Henry going to go?
Baltimore.
Dallas. They just lost Tony Pollard to Tennessee, matter of fact, which is weird.
I think it'll be Baltimore because I'd seen some report, I can't remember who it was from, that the Cowboys weren't looking to spend big money on a running back. So
they need to spend some money because they
don't
have any. They got to spend a little bit.
The reason why the Cowboys are really good was because their running game was efficient at one
on that
point.
line. Yeah. They're letting Tyron Smith go. The left tackle.
He out there?
That's what I was saying. Yeah, I think was it last week when I was mentioning him? But he's been injured a little bit. But I'm like, yo, that's a all pro, and they're letting him go. So, and I saw they
sign him up.
Bring him on in here. Give us
sign him up. Hey man, we ain't gonna pay you like that no more though. But
come on, we can still get you some of those wings though. Get you them wings.
Yeah, man, we got about 5 wings for you.
The Henry maybe going to Dallas. So we'll gather all this info for you guys. We'll be back next week. Plus, again, the continuation of the Panthers' ultimate 53-man roster. It might just be running back week, so we might just nail the running back so we get all the skill position stuff between wide receiver and running back done. I'm very curious to see what y'all do with this. I'll have to figure out a number of how many we keep. But on behalf of Bet Online and our new sponsor, Cut, for Schuyler Callihan, Jonathan Stewart, I'm Desmond Johnson. You've been watching and listening to the Bleav in Panthers podcast here on Bleav Podcast Networks. Everybody keep pounding. Keep your heads up, guys. It's the beginning of the recipe, not the end. Let's see what they're cooking first.
Take a breath.
And then we can get all mad and stuff later on. So
I'm gonna tell you why we mad, son.
Take deep breaths today. Follow Schuyler on Twitter for the latest news. Yeah, and we'll see you guys next week.